Right, my Renowned fam, welcome back to the Renowned Leadership Podcast, and happy Thanksgiving from my family, from the Morris family, and all the Renowned team. Thank you for joining, and thank you for your support. I'm just forever grateful, and I know, like, I try to be very intentional in making sure I display my gratitude for all the love and support I've gotten over the past year and a half when I was starting doing all of this. And I know it's been a growth journey. My very first podcast, not so good. It's still not so good, but getting better, and that's what's important. And so just thank you so much. I love doing this, and I love being here. Thank you for being a part of my family. Today we got a special episode, Thanksgiving episode with Dame Clarissa Burt. She is an amazing public speaker, coach, author, and actress. She was the villain in The Never-Ending Story 2. She is also a Survivor champion. So she has tons of great stories. She's a super amazing person. I absolutely loved having her as a guest and getting to talk to her. So with all that being said, without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, Miss Clarissa Burt, here we go. All right, everybody, welcome back to the Renowned Leadership Podcast, and I am so excited to be here. As always, your host, Stephen Morris, and I just love you guys. Thank you for joining us. And today, as always, I have a very special guest. I have Miss I didn't ask. I always forget to ask if you're married or not.
Ms. Never been married, so you can see.
All right, so I have Miss Clarissa Burt here with me today. Welcome to the Renowned Leadership Podcast. Thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you so much. I'm so glad to be here. Love what you're doing, by the way. Love the work you're doing.
Thank you so much. And so, just real quick, tell everybody who you are and what the work is that you do.
Yeah, for a long time, I basically have been in media in some way, shape, or form, on a stage in front of a microphone. Was Mary Poppins in the kindergarten play. So I kind of was like, the writing was on the wall from a very early age. They told me that I was vaccinated with a phonograph needle. So if you don't know what a phonograph is, please, people, Google it, and you'll understand what I'm talking about. But I'm just a yapper and a talker, and I absolutely love to communicate, and I love media. I love the medium of media, and being on a stage and communicating with people live. And so that's what the deal is there. I lived in Italy for 30 years. I modeled for a while. I acted for a while. Some of your audience may remember The Never-Ending Story Part 2. I was the mean queen in that movie, Zaida.
Get out of here.
Yes.
Really?
Yeah. Yes.
What?
Yes. And so I had lots of fun doing, movies, but I really fell in love when I was in Italy. I was working on television there, and a lot of the TV I did was live. And I'll tell you, for me, there was nothing really more that brings you more to life, really, than a live audience. And so I was hooked. I've just been hooked pretty much ever since on anything that's media. So I created In the Limelight Media. In the Limelight Media consists of television, a podcast, and a digital magazine. And as of a year and a half ago, I think I came full circle with a book that I wrote, which is called The Self-Esteem Regime. And the Self-Esteem Regime is kind of an action plan. A regime, by the way, being an organized way of doing things. And then each chapter begins with a reword, and I help people with their personal development, with their self-esteem, with self-improvement, with, the pain and some of the suffering they're going through, finding some answers. But it's an actual, it's a resource and not a read. You're not going to pick up my book and read about self-esteem. You're going to get all kinds of, tips and resources and case studies and affirmations and exercises that are going to help you do the work to become a better you. I like to say, be a better person more than you are today, but there you go.
Yeah, absolutely. And I love the distinction, because so often we buy these books to help ourselves, but then we put them down because it's like, that's boring. Well, most of the time, learning something new, until you get the practical application of it, most of the time it is kind of boring. So
This
It's
isn't
not.
really boring. I'll tell you what this is, Stephen. This is where you're going to really pull out your courage, because you're going to need some courage to get through some of the things that you might be going through. And a lot of the reasons, you have to take a look at quite a few things when we're talking about how broad and how deep self-esteem really is. And
Mhm.
it's kind of like, what did your familiar tribe teach you? Where's all the generational trauma that they, foisted upon you?
Right.
Or potentially your faith. I don't know. I throw that out there because I've been told, my faith really kind of screwed me up. So I throw that out there too. Friends, your educative institutions, the books you've read, social media today, which is like, wow, really? Why am I not as far along as Susie Q, or John Public? Like, why am I, he's like really killing it. Well, okay, a couple of different things. The grass always looks greener on the other side. So the grass, by the way, is always greener where you water it. So where, right? So where are you? Yeah, absolutely. Where are you concentrating your time? And I'd like to think my call to action is work on yourself. Don't be worried about next door neighbor lawn. And the other thing I like to say is the grass is always greener on the other side, unless it's astroturf, meaning it's fake, it's false, it's not real, it's not reality, it's perception. It's the way you're perceiving what you see and what they want you to perceive. So, we could be here all day on that, but it's just, wait a minute, worry about you, do the work on you, and you're just going to be so much bigger, better, bolder, brighter, and happier for doing it.
Yeah. Well, first, I wasn't saying your book was boring. I apologize
Oh, no,
if
no,
that's the
no,
way
no,
it
no,
came
no.
off.
Oh, I know
was
that.
just,
Don't worry. I've
I
got
was,
enough self-esteem to know that my book's not boring.
I was more saying like,
Yeah.
we expect to be fully entertained, like we're reading the Lord of the Rings or something a lot Star Wars, something like that. Like when we sit down and watch The Bourne Identity, it's not entertainment like that. It's meant to improve yourself, and a lot of times that involves work. So work is the opposite of entertainment.
Oh, make no mistake about it. Yeah.
So, but anyway, like just off your opening, there's so many diving boards that I want to jump off of, and the first for me is like you're
You just
talking
have this
about
thing
doing.
about you have this thing about jumping, Stephen.
I love
You've
to
got
jump,
this thing
man.
about
Action breeds clarity. You got to jump,
there
take
you
action.
go.
And I don't believe in jumping off with one foot and still on the platform. No, that hurts. I've
Yeah.
tried it and it hurts.
Yep.
And
Yeah.
so you got to jump with both feet.
Well, they say
And
something
so,
like when or just jump and the net will appear, just like do it.
right.
Just do it. And there's a lot of that's weaved into the book as well. Like tomorrow's not promised. What are you waiting for?
Exactly.
Like do it.
And the reason I say action breeds clarity is like we were talking before we started recording. Like my big thing is being forced to jump out of an airplane when I'm scared of heights. When I left the airplane, the circumstances in which I left the airplane, I didn't want to jump. I ended up getting forced out of the airplane because I stopped instead of jumping off the ramp, and then all the people behind me didn't get the memo to stop, so they just piled into my back and ended up pushing me out.
Oh no.
And
Okay.
so when I left the airplane, because I wasn't prepared, I freaked out and I had to get a hold of myself and be like, yo, dude, calm down. Like you need to be in control of what's going on with yourself right now. And when I did, that's when clarity came. All of a sudden fear was gone because I didn't have time to be scared. I had time to focus on, only had time to focus on what I was doing. And so I realized that if I just start stepping into the things that scare me, then that's when all the clarity comes. That's where it comes from. And that fear, just kind of like the fog in the morning, it just kind of dissipates in the sun. And that actually is a good segue into what I was going to talk about. Is I love to speak on stage. I love to talk in front of people. I'm super energetic. I'm super extroverted. I love to get people's energy, and all I got to do is make them laugh one time. Then I have them hooked the rest of the talk, and we are having a great time.
We're having a great time, yeah.
And so, but when I started doing this, oh my God, it was hard. It was so hard because I'm talking to a microphone and I'm talking to a camera and I'm talking to somebody that's not really there, right? Like, yes, you're there on the other end, but not really. I can't touch you. I can't feel that energy that you have. And so it was super hard, and I had to learn a whole new skill of having to turn on my energy
Mm.
because trust me, go back to listen to my very first episode. It was not good. It was very monotone, very flat.
You got to start somewhere.
Right. And so that's how I started is I just like, you know what? I'm not even researching how to do this.
Mhm.
Because I don't want analysis by or paralysis by analysis.
Yeah.
I'm just going to go and I'm going to figure it out as I go. It's going to suck at first, but action breeds clarity. And now, you know, I'm not good. I wouldn't say I'm good yet, but I'm
Right.
getting there. I'm building. And so I love that mentality that you bring to it of I loved being live on camera because
Yeah.
to me that's like the ultimate. That's like, oh crap. So one, I don't have anyone to get energy from, and two, if I screw this up right now, I can just shut it off and start over
Or,
because we're
or,
not
or
live.
edit it. Yeah. You can. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. You
So
can't do that on live TV. So.
no, so how did you overcome that? Like, was that even a thought to you? Like, oh my
That
God,
was
if I
really, yeah, there
screw
were,
up,
yeah. At the beginning, it was really scary because, I was in front of an entire country. There were, on the channels that I was on. So potentially in front of millions and millions of people every time I went out on stage. And it was exhilarating, but it was, in the beginning, I remember, having like panic attacks 2 days before, the day before, the day of like, like anxiety, not
mm-hmm.
panic attack, anxiety. And my heart was in my throat and it was like a big deal. Now it's like, hold my beer, it's like, it's like, hold my beer, where, give me the microphone, where's the stage, let me at them, kind of thing. And I, MC gala dinners, frequently with 300 people in the room. And the idea is that back in the day when I was so afraid, that each one of those were mini learning sessions, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it got to the point where, you're fearful, you might even fail at a couple of things, but, again, failure is your first attempt in learning. And as you fail, then you succeed. Now it's not an issue for me. I don't have that kind of idea anymore because I'm really clear about who I am. I'm really clear about what I bring to the table. And I'm really clear that my message, especially now with the book, is really meant for who's listening to us right now on this lovely Thanksgiving Day, by the way. So what do
Oh
we all
yeah,
think for,
thank you.
right?
I totally forgot about that. Happy Thanksgiving, everybody.
Happy Thanksgiving. And that's one of the other things I talk about is, drop and give me five. Like, give me five things you're grateful for right now when
Yeah.
we're talking about, we talk a lot about gratitude when we talk about self-esteem and and personal development in general. What are we truly grateful for? And if you can't give me five, like rapid fire, you need to get back to the drawing board. I can give you 10, like off the top of my head. And I know I have more if I were to, take a deep breath and get, take notes. There's nothing we have absolutely really do not have to be complaining about. There are so much grief and strife in the world, right now, that I think we can all just take a lesson from today. We're probably sitting around the table with Aunt and Uncle so-and-so and the ones that are politically, contrary to what we believe and all that stuff. But what are we truly grateful for? I
Absolutely.
personally am very grateful to be an American. I'm very grateful for our veterans. So, Stephen, thank you very much for the work that you've done for this country. And it
No
means
sweat.
the world to me to be an American. I will tell you that because, I've lived around the world. I've been to many different places where they definitely do not have our freedoms and our
Right.
luxuries, air quotes, luxuries, because everybody just, decides what their own luxuries are. But I've lived in places, I've traveled to places where people are really living under a bridge and mothers are bringing up their children. And the only way that she could cover up her newborn baby was with a piece of newspaper. I saw it,
Yeah.
I've been around. So, damn, if you can't come up with 5 or 10 things right now you're grateful for, go back to the drawing board or, start getting to work, because there is nothing that we have to be bitching about. Very little. Yeah, the world is upside down in politics and economics and all that. Yes. And times are tough. Yes. But we've been through tough times before. We've been through war before. We've been through pestilence before. We've been through all kinds of things. And we can get through. I think the other thing about self-esteem is you never really know how strong you truly are until you apply yourself and
Mm-hmm.
realize when you come to that realization, It's kind of like, wow, I did that. Like I went through that. Like you jumping, in your beginning jumps and that sort of thing. Like you said, get some real clarity around what's important and what's not.
I love what you just said, and that I can't tell you how many times someone has asked me, like, what are we gonna do? How are we gonna get through this? Like,
Mhm.
and I guess I've never really reflected on my self-esteem per se. You're kind of making me think about it now. But I guess like my answer is like, we'll be okay. We'll figure it out,
Exactly.
or we'll die. Like those are our two options: figure it out
Well,
or die.
yeah. I
And
mean,
I think we'll figure it out. So
yeah.
I'm not even worried about it. I don't stress about it, and that's pretty much how I live my life. It takes a lot to stress me out because I understand. I guess I have enough self esteem or confidence in myself to know that I'm going to be okay at the end of the day, and I'm going to figure it out.
Well, there's a really
And
great saying that I loved, and we'll close out that thought with this, and that is, as soon as you learn to trust yourself, you will know how to live.
yeah, absolutely.
It's a German writer by the name of Johann Wolfgang von Goethe that came up with this saying. And when you learn to trust yourself, you will know how to live. And I mean, yeah, perfect.
Absolutely. Yeah, couldn't have said it better myself. And then when it comes to gratitude, love that. I keep a gratitude journal. I write in it every single day. And that is the most important way to start is because,
Yeah.
man, if you, your initial thoughts in the morning are what dictate how your day proceeds.
Yes.
And if
Yes.
you wake up pissed off or upset or going back to sleep or hitting that snooze button, you
Hmm.
are robbing yourself of a good day.
Hmm. Yeah.
And I
Absolutely.
can't tell you the profound transformation that my days have had since I've started doing what you said,
Yeah.
well, real quick, what am I grateful for? Boom, 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 boom.
Yep.
Okay. And then that again, that adds clarity to my day.
Yeah.
Other than gratitude, what are some other big, well,
Your
give me
value,
one more.
your value
Okay.
system. Your value system. So if I say drop and give me 5 again, give me your top 5 values. And I'm gonna guess that a lot of people are going to values. What the hell? What are values? Wait a minute. Let me think. Five values. You need to be, you need to be coming like straight off again, rapid fire. Here's what I like to take the high road, air quotes high: honesty, integrity, gratitude, and honor. And that's a hill I'm ready to die on. And I will be honest. I will be so radically honest. And if it unfortunately hurts or offends you, I'm sorry, but that's my honesty. That's my truth, right? Integrity. I think we all know what that means. It's like your moral
Yeah.
compass, your moral code. Like, I know you guys in the military, you get a lot of these words frequently, but most of us really don't. So honesty, integrity, gratitude, we've just spoken about. Honor is something we very, very, very rarely even think about, let alone talk about. And that's like who are you when no one else is in the room?
Mm-hmm.
How are you treating people that can do nothing for you?
Right.
Like, that he can't do anything for me. Does he deserve any less your kindness and your compassion? No, he doesn't. Or she doesn't, right? So these are the kinds of things that when I talk about taking the high road, those are my top 4. And again, it doesn't make me always the most popular person in the room. Because I'll tell you, when I was on Survivor, I won Survivor some years ago. I was on Survivor and I won,
Really?
right? Yeah, it was Italian Survivor, and you would have never seen it, but I did. And in one of the exercises that we had, they came and they were, got us with a helicopter, and they were taking us to a circumspect island. So we, where the exercise was all set up. And as we were sitting in the helicopter, the two, bikini babes that I loved, I adored them. They were great, but they were much younger and, bikini babes. And they were sitting behind me, right? So when the pilot showed up, they were like, sir, we're starving. We haven't had anything to eat. Could you go over into that kiosk? Because it's like, we're in Nicaragua. It's like, no, it's a little teeny nothing airport.
Mm-hmm.
And get us something to eat. Well, of course, the guy, with his eyes going boing, 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 boing. He goes over to the kiosk and he gets some food, comes back with a brown paper bag, and he hands it to the girls. And I'm in the front with the pilot. So at a certain point, I feel this tap on my shoulder, and I turn around and they're proffering some of this junk food that he's just bought. And I went, oh no, thanks. Thank you very much. Thanks. Well, first of all, I did that because it was the honest thing to do. I was
Mm-hmm.
starving. Stephen, I'm not going to lie. I was hungry. It was the honest thing to do. It was the right thing to do. It was unfair to anybody else that was playing the game that were in the other helicopters that didn't have any food. And I wouldn't have been able to look at myself in the mirror the next day. It was against the rules. There were very clear rules about this game. And I didn't want to come off as a cheater. Had, God forbid, I had gotten caught, I would have never forgiven myself, because these are the kind of things you think of, right? And it also put, whereas we were really chummy before, it put this distance between us now. I think they were afraid I was going to tell the producers. And of course, I would never do something like that. That's not on me. That's between them and their God. That's not between me and the producers. Right. And they're conscious, I guess I should say. But it really put a distance between us, because I think it, you know, when you do something like that, it makes them feel a little bit less about themselves, which is not, it was a teaching moment for them. And it was a real proud moment for me, because I knew that I was doing the right thing. If we could all in this one, now, by the way, imperfect am I and far from perfect, but if we could all come to the table with, you know, taking the high road, again, honesty, integrity, gratitude, and honor, can you imagine what kind of world we'd be living in?
Right. Absolutely. And so much less self-serving as well, which I feel is the plague of society today. Is everything is about what can you give me rather than what can I give you?
What can I do for you?
Yeah, exactly. And in my coaching, that's one of the big things I harp on, is stop focusing on what your people can do for you and focusing on what you should be doing for your people. When you start focusing on what you should be doing for your people, that automatically is going to make them want to serve you as well and do what you tell them to do. So, I mean, great point. Love the example. I cannot, like, I did research you. I promise I did. And before this interview, and I did not see anywhere the Never Ending Story 2 or Italian Survivors. So I don't know why.
That's okay. But these are all things that I learned, you know, learn different things from. That, you know, I've written a book about, you know, it's in the personal development aisle. My book is in Barnes and Noble, by the way, which is, again, another really crowning moment for me. And when I and it's been there for a year and a half, which is amazing. But so, you know, I'm very proud. I'm proud of that work. And I often tell people to be really, really happy and proud of what they're doing. Don't shy away from that. Don't cower away from, you know, those shining bright moments in your life. You know, it's okay to have a humble brag. But, you know, when I find that, I don't know, you may not know some of these names, but Tabitha Brown, Brene Brown, who is Oprah's, one of in Oprah's inner circle, Deepak Chopra, and Dr. Joe Dispenza, and my book is right in the middle on the shelf. That's a crowning moment for me. You know?
Absolutely.
And it's, you know, for me, this is really, this message is so, it's timeless, but it's even more timely now, in lieu of what we've been going through, well, pretty much pre-COVID. You know, I mean, life is always an interesting challenge, isn't it? But it's been super challenging in these last 3 to 4 years, and people have suffered a lot of loss of money, jobs, family, friends, faith, into, you know, itself. You know, so I think that one of my greatest calls to action is to make sure that you are every day, whether you have to whether you put it in your calendar or you just trust yourself to do it, you know, you are putting in time to your personal development, your self-esteem, your self-improvement, for yourself and for everybody that, you know, around you.
Where does your passion for self-esteem and developing self-esteem come from?
Because I didn't have, you know, they always say you preach what you need to teach, right? So, excuse me, you need to learn. You preach what you need to learn. And, you know, I grew up in, you know, certain circumstances that didn't give me the greatest of self-esteem. A lot of it, I think, is generational trauma as well. You know, again, we only are taught what our parents know because they were taught what, you know, from their parents. Right. And it goes back. This is definitely not, you know, about parental bashing. I won't go down that path. It's not what this is about. But what this is about is, are you courageous enough? Do you have the cojones enough to do the work on yourself and say, the toxic stops here, right here. Drawing a line in that sand, it stops with me. I'll do the work for everybody else. I will do the work. And, again, imperfect am I, and, every once in a while, I mean, there are days where I'm off, or I wake up in a rotten mood, or whatever that may be. But I know now with my tools in the shed that I've accrued along the way to how to better manage those moments. Right. And so I do a lot. There's a lot of, rah-rah. I do a lot of like rah-rah sessions with myself. It's like I have my own cheerleading team inside my head, which, is something that
I
I
love
have
that.
lots of fun with. Yeah.
I love that, because that's before I do anything really, before I get on with a new client, that's getting on with a new client or prospect is very nerve-wracking for me for some reason. I don't know why.
Yeah.
I don't
Because
really
it's
care.
because it's not familiar. And
I guess.
and I think the butterflies, let's call them butterflies in the stomach kind of feeling, are kind of a good thing, because they keep you on your toes, and they keep you wanting to do your best, right? And so
But that's what I totally do before I do these things, before this podcast, like before every podcast, I'm crazy nervous.
yeah,
And I just, before I even turn my camera on, it's the rah-rah session.
yeah,
It's doing the cognitive reset,
right,
and placing the good image in my
right.
brain,
And
and all
that's why
those
I
things.
do pre-show. I do a lot of talking. Like before you push record, I will do a lot of talking, because I know that a lot of people do have that. I don't. I've explained why, and I really don't have that fear anymore. But I know a lot of people do. And so one of my empathic things, one of my things I do to give, if you will, is to start off the conversation, get somebody talking, and bring everybody, to like an even playing ground. Because some people, they come, they might read somebody's bio, and go, oh my God, what have I gotten myself into? Am I ever going to be good enough? Am I going to be good enough for this interview? And so that's something that we can do. All of us can be kind and compassionate and empathic, if you will, and just, bring everybody to a comfort level, and get real good at bringing people. Because look, people are going to be, they're going to be impressed by your accolades, but they're always going to remember better. They will remember how you made them feel.
Oh yeah, 100% love that.
So I hope that in my interludes with anyone, I always am making them, but like I said, I want to be a better person more than I am today. And I do take the high road. So I do want everybody to feel extremely comfortable. And that's why I do a lot of the preamble talk first, so that everybody is on the same playing ground, same playing field.
I love that. I love that so much. And you're absolutely right. It's about what you can give, and I've learned throughout my career that the best sense of purpose I can gain is always when I'm giving something to someone.
Yeah.
Right? Like the getting the things is cool and it's satisfying for a minute, but that giving to someone, and then when they remember you later, like you're like, oh yeah, that's cool, and then that feeling lasts for years and years and years. And so
That's,
I totally can resonate with what you're saying.
yeah.
So what inspired you to write the self-esteem regime, post COVID?
Well, I wrote it during COVID, but the idea of writing the book I'd had for quite some time. And it's born from the frustration that I felt in my perception of other people, and their absolute lack, or their perception of themselves, which was completely different. I would look at my mother and think, oh my God, it's my mother, and she's so beautiful, and she's she was salutarian in our high school of 800 girls, which means second. She wasn't valedictorian, she was salutarian.
Right.
She was always on the dean's list, and she was everything, to me. But my mom did not have the greatest self-esteem. I'm going back to the 50s, by the way, and she was brought up by 12 years worth of the Catholic nuns. So again, there's even there's that kind of generational, if you will, generational religious thought and indoctrination. So that happened. And then my grandmother, lovely, these are all lovely, beautiful women, intelligent. And grandmom, I don't know, she's 45 or 46 years old, decided she needed to lose weight, didn't need to lose an ounce, but decided she did, took 2 diet pills, choked on them, perforated her esophagus, and then was 6 weeks in the hospital. And I thought to myself, my God, my grandmother was like the greatest love of my life, right? So I'd look at her, why is that? Then I moved on, and I started to model, and my modeling career was really, really a phenomenal, lovely, great time in my life, and really good career. And so I'm working with like the 1% of the girls that are, traveling the world, on all the major runways, on the beauty campaigns, on the covers of magazines. And some of these girls was really evident that they had low self-esteem for many different reasons, whether toxic relationships, drugs and drinking, like whatever it was. And I'd look at them and say, where's the connection between these beautiful creatures on the runway and my mother in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania? Like what's going on here? And my grandmother with, the perforated esophagus. And it was, obviously, the answer was obvious. And it's perception of self. It's what you've been taught. It's what it's how you feel about yourself. And again, if you get the message that you're not good enough, and that you're not worthy, you're going to spend the rest of your life trying to prove that you are.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a pretty stuck kind of place to be in, because you might go down
Absolutely.
some paths that are not necessarily most healthy. Anyway, that's the reason why it took me longer to write the book than I wanted it to. But yeah, I was on a stage, and when I got off the stage, somebody in the audience is a friend of mine, and you'll see it's co-written by Gary Krebs. He came over and he said, "I need to write your book." And I went, "Let's do it." And we did. We picked up Broman and Littlefield publishers out of New York City, so traditionally published. And it's that was another dream, especially during COVID. That was like, wow, during COVID, and I think that they too understand the idea of, again, when I was a kid, there were no computers, no cell phones, no internet. And I would go into the 3 bookstores that we had at the time, was Border Books, Walden Books, and Barnes and Noble. And there's a little section in the back called Self-Help.
Yeah.
And that's where I would get my solace, my understanding, my assistance, my guidance, right? That's where I would go. And now if you walk into Barnes and Noble, the only bookstore really that that we all know here in the United States, it's just rows upon rows upon rows upon rows of personal development, $1 billion industry. Right, which goes to prove that women, humankind is still looking for, and will probably always be looking for, the why, the reason,
Right.
How to get out of pain, looking for the guidance, the help, the assistance, right? So
It's awesome story, by the way. For me, I was always the fat kid. I was short and I was fat. Growing up. I played football. I played sports. I wasn't really good at it because I was short and fat. And I didn't really grow until I got into the military. And the military is what gave me my self-esteem.
Yep. Yeah.
And I would like to think that your journey of learning self-esteem was way better than mine, because mine was pretty brutal and very like counterproductive sometimes. But ultimately, like what I learned, I could never exchange. And one of the things you said that absolutely I hate to use the word triggering, it instantly infuriates me, is perception. I hate when people say perception is reality. Perception is not reality. In fact, it's the opposite. 99.9% of the time, perception is not reality.
Opposite. Yeah. Oh yeah, exactly.
And I hate when people see themselves like, oh, I'm this. And I'm looking at you, I'm like, no, you're not. No, you're beautiful. You're amazing. You speak elegantly.
Yes.
You listen to somebody tell their story and you're like, oh man, that was such an elegant speech. I'm like, oh no, it sucked. Like, no, it didn't. Like, believe what I'm telling you. Why do people tend to not believe. Like when I like if you get off here and you're like, yeah, Stephen, you were a great host. Thank you so much for this chance. Loved being on your show. It was
Yeah,
awesome. And
it
then I'm
was.
like,
It is.
whatever. She doesn't mean it. Why do we do that?
Yeah, I don't know. It's one of those kind of things where, I think it's because, really, and intrinsically, the belief system is that you really weren't good enough. And I think that's another thing when we start to talk about the imposter syndrome, is one of those kinds of things that really, imposter syndrome is when you think you're not good enough, and it's that persistent. It's like a persistent inability to believe that one's success is deserved, right? Like you don't deserve success, or that like you achieved a result legitimately, like you really worked hard for that, and so you should own it. You should be like, I just was talking about my book and how proud I am of that, right? I would say to you, it's all right. I mean, there's so many, books on personal esteem development out there, but I guess Roman Littlefield saw something in my book. I don't know what, but here we are. Now,
Not buying your book.
So it's one of those kinds of things that, it kind of brings, it brings a sense of anxiety on too, right? Because it also is like, I'm comparing myself to other role models and other influencers, and they are so much better than I am. Well, it's not that they're better than you or they're not better than you. It's that their message is going to resonate with Joe Smith, whereas my message may resonate with Susie Q. It depends, right? Because everyone learns differently. Every message lands differently. So, people they really get really stuck with the imposter syndrome. And then I think they have to be a little bit more in tune with their emotional intelligence, right? And so where are they triggered? Because if they were told that, as I said before, if they were told that they weren't worthy, or if they were told that they were worthless, they are going to be looking for, outside of themselves, they are going to be looking for approval. And when that approval comes in, their old mindset's going to say, I really wasn't, but gee, like this old thing, I love your dress, this old thing. Yeah, because it was the right color, it's the right proportion, it's it's a timeless piece, it looks great on you, right? So people really need to stop doing that. We get really, deep into that here. Just accept a compliment graciously, say thank you, and move on. I think that's really another really important piece too, is to know that you are good enough. And by the way, let me stop right there. I am enough, you are enough, we are enough, I am all of that enough stuff. Well, if you look up the definition of enough, it is only as much as is required. So by sheer definition, the word enough is not enough. Because I don't know about you, but I know about me, and I know that I am so much more than enough. So the new
That's
mantra.
awesome.
So Stephen, the new mantra is, I am so much more than enough.
That is great.
I trust myself. My emotional intelligence is in check. I do not suffer with the imposter syndrome. I'm really clear about what my message is. I'm really sure that my book deserves to be in Barnes and Noble. I'm thrilled to know that my book is changing lives one chapter at a time.
Right.
That I am working on trauma bonds. I am working on generational trauma. I am working on betrayal trauma. I know how to grieve. I know how to bring myself back after grief. Abracadabra. I don't know, we've heard abracadabra, right? Abracadabra, we all think is like this magical, mystical. Abracadabra means I create as I speak.
Really?
I create as I speak, right? Now, we've heard this a million times, right? Be really, really careful about the words that are coming out of your mouth, because the words are energy, and the energy goes out into the it goes out to the universe, and it's a vibration, and what you're putting out will come back in. So all of these things are things that we need to be really, 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 really super mindful of, and that's part of the exercise. The exercises in the book especially are to know, write it down, journal it out, get it out, but, work with the affirmations, do the mirror work. There's something in there called mirror therapy, which was, I picked up along my, readings with Louise Hay, who was really one of the first godmothers of personal development. We can go back to Neville Goddard, and we can go back to Napoleon Hill's work, and there are many others, many godfathers and godmothers. But Louise Hay came, I know, was where I first picked it up, was with her work, and then Jack Canfield used it in some of his works as well. And if it was good enough for them, it's good enough for me. And we have that in the book as well. So when you can, there are two ways to approach a mirror. One is to look at the mirror, doing my makeup, doing my hair, brushing, all that stuff. I look at the mirror and I'm looking pretty good, I'm feeling pretty good. Or you can look into the mirror. And when you look into the mirror and you look into your own eyes and you're down into your own soul, this is when you can have a come to Jesus moment with, how you really do truly feel about yourself and what you need to hear. I really like you. I love you. I'm so proud of you. You did an amazing interview. You pulled together a fantastic podcast that is serving. So I'm so proud of you. Whatever it is that you need to hear, again, this is self-help. This is not what everybody else thinks about me. Help.
Right.
This is self-help. This is doing the work for yourself, by yourself, with help, obviously, of, the tools that you will pick up along the way. But this is where you will put in the work, you will put in the effort, and you know that you deserve to be doing these things for yourself. A lot of times these things will really resonate with us, and we'll really look for these when we're like rock bottom.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we don't have to go down that far. You don't have to go that far. If that's where you are and that's where you need to, bounce back from, great, no problem. Let's start there. But if we are continually doing the work on our personal development and self-esteem and that sort of thing, then better I feel. And again, the second mantra being that I've mentioned before, I want to be a better person tomorrow than I am today.
All right, everybody, I just want to interrupt the podcast really, really quick and take a minute to tell you all about the brand new Renown coaching system. This is a system I've personally designed and put a lot of thought and effort and love into. It's an amazing system. Let me tell you real quick why it's an amazing system, because you get real-time analytics. You get to see exactly where you were when you started, where you currently are, and how close you are to achieving that ultimate goal that you set at the very beginning. You get analytics for everything. More importantly, the accountability with this system is the best you'll find anyplace else in the world. I get to see everything that's going on and make sure that you are staying accountable to the goals you set. It's truly powerful. You guys just got to see it for yourself. Go to renownleadership.com, go to the top right-hand corner, click book a call. You'll get to come talk to me personally, and I will personally give you a tour of this system. It is truly amazing. It's one of a kind, and it's truly, truly powerful. I'm so excited. I can't wait to show y'all. That's all I got to say about it. So let's get back to the podcast. Right. That's right on with my theme too, is always be analyzing my own thoughts. Right. Because when I started this, I very much had imposter syndrome. Yep. And I knew that. And it was, I really had, and it's hard sometimes owning your own company, doing your own, making your own content. People think content creation is easy. It is one of the most stressful things I've ever done. And I used to get shot at for a living.
Well, you're knocking it out of the ballpark, number one. You're doing an amazing job. I think it's great. But, to your point, we really need to think more about what we're thinking about.
Right.
Think about what you're thinking about, right? And if it's something you want to do it, try it, fail at it. Again, first attempt in learning, failure, fail, first attempt in learning, do it, fail, celebrate the failures, move on. That means you're just one step closer to success. Right. Fear, face everything and rise. And it's an acronym. You can put the R, could be a million different things, but I use face everything and rise. Just freaking do it. Tomorrow is not promised. Another thing, is I can do anything. I can do anything. Okay, great. You can do anything. You can do anything, Stephen, until you can't. So
Right.
without shame, without blame, and without guilt, who do you need to apologize to? Tomorrow's not promised for you or for them. Who do you need to pick up a call and make amends with? Who is it you need to send a card, an email? Who is it that, no matter whether you think you're right or not, is missing in your life? And that, no, I'm not saying toxic relationships, because that's a whole nother chapter. But are there people in our lives that maybe we need to rethink? Because as we grow and we do become the better person tomorrow than we are today, we rethink things, right? Like I said before, think about what you're thinking about, but rethink the things you need to rethink.
Mm-hmm.
Were you too exacting? Were you too difficult? Was there something that you had a hand in the way that relationship ended? It could be a brother, a sister, again, a sibling, a parent, an ex, a friend, a friendship. What it could be anyone. If I were to say to you, who really do you need to make amends with? Almost everybody in the room, anybody listening, will come up with one person, at least one person.
Instead of themselves.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, we're doing a lot of work on ourselves in order to do the right thing by others as well.
Right.
So how many people are out there that would absolutely love, to hear from us? Not, I mean, again, how many people, not how many people would love to hear from us, but how many of us have someone in their lives that would love to hear from us? And that's something else that we need to take into account, because there is no greater marker of your self-esteem and how you feel about yourself than putting out that the good juju, right? The good energy, that great energy that you just put out, knowing that there's a possibility you may not hear anything back. And that's going to ouch a little bit. That's going to, but you did what you knew was the right thing to do. Again, we always come back to honor. What was the right thing to do? What is the right thing to do in that case?
And ouches are okay.
Say
Contrary
again?
to, I said ouches are okay. Contrary to popular wisdom, getting
Sure.
hurt is okay.
Yeah.
I've been hurt so many times,
Yeah.
physically, mentally, spiritually.
Yep. Yep.
It's okay. I learned, and I'm not bitter. I when I was in Afghanistan in 2013, I got shot 3 times.
Wow.
Yeah,
Wow.
I'm not mad at the guy.
I'll
It
bet you
was
are.
war.
Yeah.
It was war. It happened. I mean, at the time, I was mad because it hurt. It burnt.
Yeah.
Almost killed me. But now, sitting here today, if that guy were still alive, I know he's not. But if he were, I wouldn't be mad at him. It's war. It happened. I don't
Yeah.
hold a grudge. I
Well,
forgive you.
I thank you again for doing that, especially on this day of thanks. But when we could get to a point in our lives where we say, you know what, I'm no longer accepting the things I cannot change.
Yeah.
I'm no longer accepting the things I cannot change, and I'm going to change the things I cannot accept about myself mostly. Yeah, it's a whole different spin on, right, of what we're used
Right.
to hearing. I'm changing the things I cannot accept about myself mostly. And life is only going to give you what you keep calling in.
Right.
Right.
Absolutely. And that's so important because the reason I added that the yourself part is because to me it all I can't do anything until I accept my own responsibility.
Surely. Yeah.
And so in order to enact change, in order to change myself, change others, change the world around me, change my environment, anything that I want to enact change on, first I have to accept and understand my responsibility in creating the problem in the first place. So if
Absolutely.
I'm having a bad self-esteem issue, before I say, well, my dad used to beat me, my mom told me I was worthless and I wasn't good enough. My friends used to make fun of me because I was short and fat. My drill sergeants in the army said all these horrible things to me. Before I
Right.
go to blaming all of that, the first thing I do is I hold up the mirror and I say, okay, Stephen, what have I done to cause this self-esteem issue to myself?
Yeah. Yeah.
Once I've diagnosed all that, then I can branch off and it's like, okay, now I can forgive myself, I can forgive others, I can change myself, I can change others. All these things come from just taking ownership of yourself and your own actions and your own circumstances. And this is a long mantra of I absolutely hate victimization and victimhood.
Yeah.
I understand things happen to you.
Yeah.
Totally get it. But still, stop. Don't be a victim. Nothing positive ever comes from it. I'm done
No,
ranting. I'm sorry.
no, it doesn't. And you're right. No, and I absolutely no. I love the exchange. That's great. I mean, it sounds like it's great that you've done, that kind of work. It's easier to live in victimhood than it is to actually get up and do the work, because as I've said before, it takes courage and it takes effort and it takes work. And forgiveness is huge. It's really hard to do sometimes. And because hurt and you kind of have to remember too that hurt people hurt people.
Right. Yeah.
So you have to go back to say, a lot of the times, again, I do not ever advise staying in a toxic relationship. But if somebody's really working on themselves and is really trying, putting in the effort, then it's something that you might want to either, hang around for or help them through. A lot of compassion involved. It depends. Obviously every situation is individual. It's different, but sometimes you don't want to throw the baby out with the bathwater either, right? So
Where do you come up?
what? What?
I've never in my life heard that. Throw the baby out with the bathwater. What does that even freaking mean?
Well, if you throw, they have these basins, right, for babies, and you put the bathwater in, you put the baby in, and then you wash them. Then you take the baby out and you throw away the bathwater, right? Well, don't forget you have to take the baby out, because otherwise you could throw the baby out with the bathwater. You've never heard that?
No,
It
never
means
in my life.
you don't want to throw away the good with the bad, right? You want never mind. Look it up.
So I love that you talked about the pillars of your self-esteem. Um I just I believe excuse me, I believe in that so much. And I think each one of us has our own pillar, which you alluded to, talked about a little bit.
Yeah.
We're coming up on the end, and I would really love for you to reiterate that point just
Yep.
one more time, really hammer it home, because it is so important that you live and die by your pillars, whatever they are,
Right. So
go ahead.
yeah, no, the 4 pillars are look good, feel good, be good, and greater good. So basically it's outside, inside, head, and heart. Outside, how we looking outside; inside, how we taking care of our bodies, our head, the things that we are allowing in, the things that are serving us. And then obviously the greater good is, paying it back, paying it forward, tithing, volunteering, and all of those good things that we do. I think you might be referring to is the value system. And so
Right.
the value system again is taking the high road. I have called my value system the high road: honesty, integrity, gratitude, and honor. And they're really kinds of things that you want to remember. Again, who is it when you're not in the room? And then who are you when no one else is in the room? Forgive me. And then the other thing that I like to say is honoring. We talk about not comparing ourselves to anyone else, right? And so it's like self-esteem 101. Never compare yourself to anyone else. Okay, yes, yeah. But the only comparison you need to be making is to the person you were yesterday. And it goes along with when I say, I want to be a better person tomorrow than I am today.
Well, let me ask you this.
Yeah.
Because of course we've always heard never, comparison is the thief of joy is one of the things I've heard a lot. But at the same time, comparison is what drives me, I think, because it's like, okay, so I see Clarissa, she's where I want to be. Right. So I compare myself to you, like, okay, so this is what I'm doing. This is what she's doing. These are the things I need to improve on to get to her level. How do I keep it? I guess that's a healthy comparison. Is there such a thing as a healthy comparison?
Well, I think it's really more, it's more emulation, and it gives us more motivation. Right. So I emulate someone. I esteem them. Right.
Okay.
I feel esteem for that person. They help me up my game, up the bar, because I can learn from them. They are more of a mentor, if you're working with them, than anything else. It's not that you're comparing. Look, I don't compare myself to Oprah, but I would like to think that my messaging is on point. It's on fleek. It's helping people. I have a media group. I get the word out. I don't compare myself to her because I don't have thousands of people and billions of dollars, but I do what I can at my level, right? And so, yeah, I think that is something that's really important to keep in mind. Have your role models. It's really important that you have role models. I'm sure there's someone that you emulate, that you esteem, that you look at and go, that's what I'm shooting for that.
Right.
But it doesn't mean that you are comparing yourself to them, right?
Fair enough.
Because it's because you are you and they are they, right? Or he is he, or she is she. So yeah, I think I'd be really, really mindful of that as well. And then remembering also that loyalty is when I've got your back behind your back. I think that's something else that goes along with the honor piece, right? Loyalty is when you've got my back behind my back. Like, are you trashing me when everybody gets together at the water cooler and they're, they just, they're having this fomenting moment of, the coyotes, doing their thing there? Or are you actually standing up and saying, I know Susie Q, and I really like her. Maybe she's just having a bad day. Maybe she needs to talk, or she needs a hug. Boom, off you go. And, maybe you've done the right thing and given them, food for thought, it's really okay to stand around. So I love that part about loyalty. I am fiercely loyal. And it comes kind of with the terrain with me. But it's one of those kind of things that, it's another hill that I'm ready to die on, because I do think that loyalty has a whole lot to do with honesty, integrity, and honor.
Absolutely. I agree 100%. And loyal. So when people ask me what my values are, I say I have one value: integrity. Integrity covers them all.
Yeah.
And obviously I'm not knocking your thing. Is just for me it's as long as my integrity is intact, my honor is intact, my morals are intact, my loyalty is intact, and I am like you. I am fiercely loyal, and I will defend you to the literal death until you prove that my loyalty, you don't deserve my loyalty, which a lot of times isn't easy to do. So I mean, I totally get that. And I love that to death. In the military, we say we've got your six, meaning we got your back. And so, yeah, I love that to pieces. That is so awesome. So Clarissa, first of all, I just wanted to say thank you so much for joining me on Thanksgiving Day of all days.
Stephen, what a joy you are. Enjoy your dinner.
Thank you so much. This has been really special, and I can't wait to get your book and read your book. I haven't done it yet. I got to do it. But my bookshelf is like, I'm never going to read all these books before I die. It's too many.
Well, let me leave everybody with this, because I think it's something it could be really, really, it's a point to ponder. Nothing has any meaning except for the meaning you give it.
Yep, absolutely, 100%.
So it's kind of like funny. Don't sweat the small stuff.
It's so funny because people, especially today, everyone is offended about everything, and it's like, they're like, you're not offended by that, and I'm like, I can see why you're offended, but I just choose not to be.
Yeah, me too.
It's not worth my time and energy.
Sure to be bitching your way through it, damn it, it's supposed to be fun. Let's try our best, shall we?
I don't have fun when I'm pissed off at everybody. Like, that's not fun to me. So let's go have some fun, man. I totally love that. But thank you so much, Clarissa. It's been an absolute pleasure. Go ahead and tell everybody how they can get a hold of you if they need your coaching, or if they want to have you as a public speaker. Get a hold of your book. Where can they find it? all that
Well,
stuff.
again, the book is in Barnes and Noble. It's also on barnesandnoble.com and certainly on Amazon. It's in Kindle version. It's on Audible, and it's also in the book form. So yeah, regular book form. So yeah, you can find it anywhere pretty much. And I can be found on social anywhere except on Snapchat.
Yeah, I don't have Snapchat. Is Snapchat still a thing?
I don't know. I just say that because I don't want you looking for me there because I'm not there.
Yeah, absolutely. 100%. And as always, everybody, I will have all her links and all her stuff in the show notes, in the bio, and in the description down below. So make sure you scroll all the way down and click on her stuff. Give her tons and tons of love. Get her book. It's going to help you immensely. I know it. It's just, it's going to be life changing, especially knowing how important my self-esteem is to me. Seeing the energy that Clarissa brings on the screen, like that self-esteem, like you can't replace it. Like it's just, and it lifts everyone around you. It's just toxic in a good way. Is contagious. That's what I should say. Not toxic, contagious. I apologize for that.
No,
it's
okay.
Not toxic. It's contagious.
Right.
So anyway, yeah, get her book. It's going to change your life. And once you're done doing all that, go to renownedleadership.com. Give me tons of love too, because I need the love and support as well. Now, Clarissa, all my guests, before they leave, they get the final word of wisdom. My final question to you is, what advice do you give people to lead like champions?
You're only as beautiful as your last good deed. And so I brought that up. Yeah, you're only as beautiful. You're only as good. You're only as kind. You're only as handsome as your last good deed. And I use that because a lot of people like to lead with the superficial. Right, the way I look, the money I make, I'm all that. And so it's kind of one of those more humbling statements that I created. You're only as beautiful as your last good deed. So go out and do something good for somebody today.
I love that. Absolutely. It goes back to my main theme of leadership is always lead from service rather than lead from position. I love that so much. Again, thank you so much for joining us, everybody. That's going to wrap up this week. Happy Thanksgiving on this special Thanksgiving episode. And I'm going to see you guys next week with another amazing guest. Thank you again so much for joining us. Make sure you give me comments, likes, reviews, and plenty of love. And until then, don't forget, everybody, lead like a champion. Goodbye.
I try to sleep, but you're deep in my mind. Got a hold of me. When I'm awake, I'm all blind.
Okay, it's going to wrap it up on this special Thanksgiving Day episode. You're only as beautiful as your last good deed. Those are beautiful words. That's inspiring. That's amazing. And that's a mantra to live your life by. Man, just I'm pretty blown away by it. Like, you're only as beautiful as your last good deed. Man, we can make this world such a more beautiful place if everyone would just do one kind thing for some random person or someone it doesn't even matter. Just go be kind, especially today. Be kind. Don't get mad at that uncle that you politically disagree with. Just show him kindness and love. So that's going to wrap it up. Make sure you go give Clarissa tons and tons of love. Get her book. It is hands down life-changing. It's an amazing book. And once you're done giving her all the love, make sure you go check me out. Book your free consultation with me. You get to come talk with me for an hour for free. No, you can't beat that. And have a great, safe holiday weekend. And if you don't, well, I forgot to silence my phone, and that was an ESPN update. I apologize for that. Anyway, have a safe holiday, and I will see you all at the regular time next week. And yeah, lead like a champion, everybody.